Congratulations. As you can see, we have prepared for a rather large and very, very marvelous panel. Resilience in LGBTQ plus tourism, changing challenges in changing times. A great title, I hope you will agree. A while back, I had the great pleasure of interviewing Pavel Schubert of East Meets West, a man who you may know, an organization who you may know. He was interviewed for the ITB Berlin Travel Hero podcast. And it was absolutely fascinating and very obvious that there is so much still to discuss and debate in the area of LGBTQ. I therefore personally very, very much am looking forward to this session. And we have a wonderful, as I said, panel lined up for you with experts from all over the world. I'm delighted to invite our moderators, Thomas Böhmke and Rika Jean-François, to the stage in a minute. They will both be probably quite familiar with a lot of you guys in the room for their tireless work to raise awareness for the LGBTQ plus community. So please give Thomas, I think, a warm welcome to start with. Rika will come, and then they will introduce their wonderful panel. So Thomas, the stage is yours.
Thank you. Bist du da? Du da? Okay. Okay. So hello and welcome also from my side. My name is Thomas Böhmke, as Charlotte said already. I have the headset, sorry. Confused. I'm the ITB LGBTQ Tourism Advisor since quite a few years, I think 13, 14 years already. And I'm working with my colleague Rika on the LGBT tourism segment here at ITB Berlin all year round. And we have this LGBT tourism pavilion also next hall in 4.1. If you are interested more into this topic, you can go over to this hall.
Yeah, as Thomas already said, I'm Rika Jean-François, and we build up together, literally, the LGBTQ plus tourism segment here at ITB. And that's something we are very proud of. And we want to invite everybody to get engaged in this segment because it's, it also pays off, but you have to do it the right way. But yeah, it has been established already. Internationally, a lot of companies, destinations, all along the supply chain are really interested to get into the LGBTQ market. And it is a fruitful business, but there's also a but. And I think that's a very severe question we have to talk about. Because in some countries like Greece, where we were very proud to hear that there's same-sex marriage finally legalized, totally legalized. On the other hand, there are developments, political developments, which are going into the opposite direction. And this is very threatening, I think, for each of us. And this is why we want to discuss with people who are themselves part of the LGBT community, how we can tackle that, how can we develop resilience. So I think it's very nice we can already invite you to the stage.
So, Aisha?
Aisha?
Aisha Jaibu-Lenoir. She is founder and director from Moonlight Experience from the UK. Welcome to stage. Then we have, please give a big applause for her. So next one is Marcel Conrad. He is Chief Content Manager from A3M Global Monitoring. They're doing travel risk maps. Welcome, Marcel. Take a seat, please. Next one is Michael Kajubi. He's a business coach, mentor, WMNS Work, Executive Director, McBurn Foundation, originally from Uganda, based in Canada now. And our last but not least panelist is Diti Minik. He is CEO for Experience Kissimmee. And maybe some people don't know where Kissimmee is, but it's in Florida where all these fabulous Walt Disney, Universal Studios or whatever is, and he is the head of everything there. So welcome, Diti. Perfect.
Yeah, I think it would be nice if each of you could shortly introduce his or herself to the audience. Yeah. So
start with Aisha. We'll start, yes.
Hi, everybody. My name is Aisha Jaibu-Lenoir. I'm based in London. but I run a queer travel company called Moonlight Experiences. It's all about showcasing the best of our community through a more diverse lens. So wherever we are, whether we're in African countries, whether in Europe, we want to be able to share our stories, but to be able to also support the local community. In London as well, I run an LGBTQ company and a venue called The Common Press. It's an intersectional queer bookshop cafe. And as part of my activism also, I'm part of the team at UK Black Pride.
Marcel, please.
Hello, I'm Marcel Conrad from A3M, industry for the travel security background. We are providing reports about current security events and also country reports and city reports about all aspects of travel security. So LGBTQ plus security and LGBTQ plus issues are also one of our main focus. So I'm very happy to be here today.
Thank you. Michael.
I am Michael Kajubi. I should say originally from Uganda, where I founded the McBurn Tours and the McBurn Foundation, but now I'm based in Canada. I started the McBurn Tours and Travel in Uganda to support and give safe working places for the LGBTQ youth that were discriminated and couldn't find employment because of who they are, because of who they love, and also provide healthcare for the elderly, which many, it's not easy in a very homophobic country to find healthcare if you are part of the marginalized communities.
Okay.
Hello, my name is DT Minnick. I'm the president and CEO of Experience Kissimmee. As Thomas said, we're the official tourism board for the Kissimmee area, which is part of the Central Florida area. There's Orlando and then there's Kissimmee. So we represent and promote and market all of the Central Florida theme parks, our ecotourism activities, and as of such, all of also LGBTQ travel. So I'm very happy to be here today. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all. I think we have a very international panel, given that we're only a small group. So let me start with Michael. Michael, as some of you might have already read in the press release from the Studienkreis, is the winner of the To Do Human Rights Award this year. He will be honored later on, tomorrow afternoon. And Michael is going to be honored because he was standing in very bravely in a country like Uganda. And most of you will know that there is a new anti-LGBTQ plus act, which is really including death penalty as well. So we are really talking about a very extreme situation. And as Michael told us himself, he has to live in Canada now because of that. So I think it's very important that you share with the audience a little bit, how is the situation really in Uganda for the community?
Right now, the situation is fragile. It is not easy, it's not good. When I left Uganda 4 years ago, it started with me advocating for inclusive tourism with the company that I founded and looking at the LGBTQ as market and also trying to bring the LGBTQ travelers to Uganda to experience that part of the world. And 2019, things went south for me, that I was evicted from my apartment. My neighbors attacked me because they thought I was promoting homosexuality in the premises. Luckily, I I moved to Canada, but not everyone can do that. Not everyone is privileged and lucky to do that. Now there is, years later, last year, there is a Anti-Homosexuality Act, which has, like Rika said, which has a death penalty for aggravated offenders. It's not easy. When I left, things were bad. But things have gone from bad to worse. Just, I think a month and a half ago, one of the activists, while he was going to work, was attacked. They stabbed his stomach, they cut his hand, and they wanted to kill him. That is how bad the situation is, that the mob just attack anyone, just like I was attacked 4 years ago. Other activists continue being attacked. Other LGBTQ members are killed by the mob. We have a number of those. So it's bad. The law is in court. We are trying to do whatever it takes to have it repealed. But then the masses don't think otherwise.
But Michael, let me ask you an important question. I know from former things that we tried to do together when you were in Berlin and 6, 7 years ago, 8 years, we always tried to talk to the Ugandan Tourism Board, because normally tourism boards are more progressive than other sections of policy. So they were quite positive at that time, I remember. And now I just saw that the GSTC, the Global Sustainable Tourism Council, where I'm also a proud board member of, has signed an agreement with Uganda Tourism to become green, to become sustainable. So I think this is an important thing where we could maybe have a discussion, because the responsible tools, the social tools, are also part of the GSTC tools. So there might be a way somehow to influence that, I hope, because we have to open doors somehow. So do you think that the Ugandan tourism authorities could be supportive to our cause as well? And do you think that with the economic power of the luxury travel, which is luxury travel in Uganda mostly because it's so expensive, reasonable of course, but to watch the gorillas and so on, so would make this persuade maybe the government to change again? Or is this hatred just too big and is not open to any argument, even the economic argument?
That's a good point. But coming from Uganda and having lived there most of the time, most of my lifetime, it happens that the LGBTQ plus I community is a scapegoat to everything. So whenever the government fails to do their job, whenever they fail to deliver to the people, and they know they're leading homophobic people, they turn to the LGBTQ community. They'll say, we are doing this to preserve the culture. So they scapegoat the LGBTQ community to win the votes from the people. So they'll come to conferences, they'll fly first class, come here, say all the good things, but when they go back, always do the opposite. They're always silent about it. So it's just scapegoating. What does the world want to hear? That's what they'll come and tell the world. And then when they go back, they backtrack on it.
Yeah.
So it's a very positive. Hope is the last thing we can always lose. So I'm hopeful that we can continue to speak, to engage with the communities. Just like what I'm doing right now, I'm trying to, with our foundation, try to offer employment and education scholarships to young youth. Then maybe they can open up businesses like I did. I open up a business, I employ people, and I pay the taxes to the government.
So like
when we have more entrepreneurs who are LGBTQ, I'm hopeful that we can use our businesses and our taxes as leverage to get to the table and have these
And
discussions.
there are many gay clients as well. I mean, this is very popular for gay people.
Yeah. But I think we need to talk with these people that we cannot leave this situation like it is. Absolutely not. But I think it's really important for us now, Marcel, that we'll check now. This Uganda is a very extreme example, but how is it globally now? So in what other countries we have this same problem, or as Michael said, this is bad, going to worse. So what is the situation right now? So I think we see it from from excellent to worse, but there is a range of countries. How is the global landscape at the moment, from your point of view?
Yes, that is true. Though the global situation is also not that good in general, I would say. We have over 170 countries severely discriminating against LGBTQ plus people. And those countries are spread all over the world. It's in South America, it's in Africa, Middle East, Central Asia, Southeast Asia. So the situation is very difficult in many places. Of course, we always have to keep in mind when taking a look at this from a tourism perspective, that many governments are usually very careful to go against, to be repressive against foreign tourists coming into the country. There is a huge gap between the local population and tourists as well. So the situation for tourism is not necessarily as bad as the situation for the local LGBTQ plus community. So somehow, as we all try to believe, tourism has a changing factor, or has some power to change local societies by dialogue, by more creating a better understanding. But the situation itself is still bleak, very bleak.
In general, do you see a development that is getting worse globally, or is it? How can we see this really? Because everybody has the feeling that it's getting really worse now. But what is the reality from your point of view?
At the moment, I would say, just looking back the last few years, there have been several countries also introducing that Russian so-called gay propaganda law in wide parts of Eastern Europe, and many other countries did not move ahead as fast as they could.
Yeah.
We have some countries where we can see improvements. For example, some like Caribbean countries where same-sex sexual acts were legalized.
Or Estonia right now, they have legalized.
Exactly.
It's a very good example.
Yes, and we have parts of Europe where same-sex marriages and relationships were also are now
Even in the Caribbean.
Yeah, you're right. Yes. So we can see some improvements.
Okay,
of course.
okay. But we also have some countries where it's going a little bit backwards. And a good example, I think, DT, is your home country, the US. Yes. So the country of freedom and everything. But we see some developments in one state, especially in Florida, where we have not a good development. So can you let us know what is the general situation in the US? I know there is not the US, you have the states are more taken over. But give us a little insight how it is the situation in the US right now, from your point of view.
You know, as you said, it's pockets of areas, and it's different across the country. But I think, in general, you know, we're for the most part, it's a welcoming community throughout the United States. If you look at some of the statistics in terms of the general population acceptance and things, it's very high. It's grown so fast over the last really 10 years or so. You know, when I got married 10 years ago, we had to fly to Boston and go to Provincetown, because just 10 years ago, that was the only place in the U.S. that we could legally get married. So we have progressed very fast, but we've also been pushed back some as well. And in Florida, of course, there's been a lot of press about, you know, the different aspects of what's going on with our state government and our governor and book bans and all kinds of different things. And, you know, we as a destination, I'm fortunate that in Kissimmee and Osceola County, if you're not familiar, is one of the most progressive counties in the state. In Central Florida, the Orlando-Kissimmee area is very progressive. We have a very large LGBTQ plus community. A lot of folks work at the theme parks and things. And you've got, you know, a big population and group in Fort Lauderdale and the Keys and around the state. St. Pete, Tampa has the largest gay pride parade in the state. So overall, I think, you know, we are welcoming. We are trying to do things to showcase that, you know, that we're not as bad as maybe the press puts out there sometimes. You know, we have a lesbian county commissioner that's been reelected 2 times. We have a gay director of tourism for the county, and we've done this community voices because it's not just the LGBTQ, it's the Hispanic community that's being prejudiced against, and there's been things with the African American and even the Asian communities. And so what we've done is we've taken and created this video series called Community Voices, and we've interviewed people from all walks of life that live in Osceola County, that have brought their families up, that have developed businesses or have worked their whole life in Osceola County, and we showcase how we embrace the African American community, the Hispanic community. We're the 12th largest Latino county in the United States. And when you think of areas like Arizona and California, that's huge. There's 52% of our population is Latino, so they're actually the majority. And we've also, you know, LGBTQ, we've interviewed and done, and they're not like really slick videos. They're more like just done with GoPro, and we want to make sure that it looks real and it's authentic, and they talk about growing up in the community and working and raising families. So yes, we've come a long way, but we've been pushed back quite a bit in the last few years, especially in some areas. You know, we're doing a lot to try to make sure that people understand that they're welcome.
Yeah.
And
do the people
embraced.
still feel really welcome, or do you have figures that you see that LGBT tourists not coming to Florida anymore because of this? They say, oh no, Florida is not a safe place for me because they read this in the media and they see, oh, maybe the climate change is in Florida. Do you see those things, or you think, no, we still have a lot of, the figures are still good from the LGBT community?
No, that is happening. In fact, my director of research, he came to me just about a year ago. He had 2 young children. He was originally from Brussels, and he brought his family over from Brussels several years ago. He had 2 young children, and he came to me with tears in his eyes, and it's still very emotional for me. And he said, DT, I love my job. I love living here, but I can't raise my children in schools that won't allow them to read certain books or think certain ways or act certain ways. And so he picked his family up and moved to Boston, of all places. But we see a lot of that type of thing happening, and it's heartbreaking.
Absolutely, yeah. But we see these politics really change the climate. And I think we have to change this in a way. And I still think tourism is a good way, so we have to bring these tourists and to wave the flag, if the other people like it or not. Absolutely, yeah.
Aisha, last not least, I think you have some roots in Ghana, is that right? There is some frightening development in Ghana going on as well.
Yeah, I was born in London, and I actually grew up in Nigeria, where my family are from, and they're also from Ghana. For me, you know, I've been quite fortunate because I live in London now, and I moved back when I was younger. And being in London, for me, meant that, you know, I could exist as myself, you know, I could love who I wanted. A year and a half ago, I got married to my wife, Alexia, which, you know, living in Ghana or Nigeria, I wouldn't be able to do so. So for me, being in a place where I can celebrate who I am is so important, but everybody deserves that. And through the work I do, through the activism that I do, and through running my company, it's all about trying to showcase that we, despite what's going on as a LGBTQ community, similar to what this panel is about, we are resilient. And also, we deserve to live in a world where we can celebrate our joys. Because often when we're talking about our LGBTQ community, especially when we're talking about people from the global south, it can always feel like there is no progress. And I think it's really important to be able to have role models and showcase to young people that there is a world where you can be who you are. Because essentially, as the saying is, you really cannot be what you cannot see. So I think that's so important to keep alive in a changing world that is, discriminating and sentencing and penalizing people because of who they are. And it tends to happen during a time where governments, even in the UK, we are going through the same thing where our government doesn't want to ban conversion therapy for trans people, where you have a prime minister who is talking about the trans community because they're trying to make them scapegoats. So for anybody who's not so aware, last week the president of Ghana has announced that there is an anti-LGBTQ bill that was just passed. So if it does get turned into law, Ghana will be in the same position as Uganda, where you will be sentenced for being LGBTQ, where friends and organizations that are helping in major resources and services will also be jailed. I visited Ghana as a kid. I always felt safe. It is a friendly place. I mean, back in 2022, Ghana was ranked as the second most peaceful place in West Africa. It came second just behind Mauritius. So it's a beautiful place where now they've done so much work in tourism to start bringing young people back into Ghana. They've invested in tourism, and this is going to take them a step backwards in terms of the economy and what it does for the country as a whole. So for me, I think as a queer community, we have to kind of keep supporting these grassroots organizations that are still located in these places, but also just like we do in the West, where we still visit the US, where we still visit certain countries, European countries that have certain policies that are now LGBTQ friendly. I think it's important to still visit and support that tourism that is currently needed, because if we don't do that, it really puts that country backwards a lot more.
Yeah. By the way, we also take questions from the floor. We have Slido with us, so you can put in questions there, and we see them here, and we try to answer your questions as well.
Yeah, Aisha, I also wanted to saying like the UK is a safe country and Germany is a safe country as well, but this doesn't mean that everything is really without any challenges, because you know yourself there's intersectionality, which makes it not easy as a black lesbian woman, openly lesbian, in a society like the UK as well. And as you see, there's also, if there's a conservative government, it is threatening. And also, I mean, I don't want to talk about the option, what could happen in the US, But what is your opinion on that?
Yeah, absolutely true. I mean, when we're talking about who we are, there is still racism in the UK, despite the fact that our government say it isn't the case. And also in terms of, how we are celebrated, and in terms of LGBTQ spaces. There isn't a queer space in London that is run by a black queer woman. I mean, I'm lucky to manage a queer venue, but this is rare. There's very few places for us to really, when we talk about equality, it is still that fight. Similar with the fight about, our LGBTQ rights. It's not, the fight is not over. Often when you see the portrayal of gay people, it often isn't a black queer woman. It's often a gay white guy. You know, we need more and more of our stories to be celebrated, to be told, and we need that kind of, as I said, for me, it's all about inspiring the next generation to show them what is possible, similar to the work that Michael is doing, you know, being able to get young people employed, being able to have more LGBTQ businesses. And these businesses really do exist. They exist in Ghana, they exist in Nigeria, they exist all across the countries that are constantly getting, that constantly have hostile environments, because, you know, as we say, LGBTQ people are so resilient. And I think as time goes by, we want to tell and show those stories.
Yeah, and we see really, as you said, Aisha, we have these LGBT communities all over the world, in every country. This community is everywhere, and as we agreed, everybody, that tourism can really help in those countries to develop this, help these communities be there. And Marcel, what do you think is with these countries? Because it's very good what you do on your website is that you have the reality with what are the laws, what is it, but the reality in many countries is different, and people still travel there, even if it's countries like in the Arabian world. You cannot, officially it's a no-go, but in the reality, you find big LGBT communities there. So, and what do you think is the global challenge? In many countries are this, so give us an overview a little bit.
So, I think, yes, the law situation is one thing. The actual everyday today situation is completely different. So, I think if we what's really needed, I think, is to have a more holistic view of the LGBTQ plus situation in countries. So, of course, the law situation itself is never to be ignored. It's always there, and it's always a possibility. So, whenever an LGBTQ plus individual is going to a country, they are at risk. That the law will be applied. But I think what we really need is also that local perspective, working together with local experts who are in the LGBTQ plus community, who know the situation better, and who can also understand the law situation in contrast to the everyday situation much better than
So people really need to have the resources when they check for travel destinations where to go. They really need to know what is the official situation, but what is the reality? Where can I go? And even in the US, DT, I mean, I don't feel unsafe when I travel to Florida or the US. Totally not. But because I know exactly where to go when I'm in Kissimmee, in Miami, in Fort, I know where to go. I feel safe. Believe me.
Yeah, but
sometimes not, but it's. I know. So, but I hear many people also in Germany say, no, when, for example, Trump is coming back in power, I will not go to the US because I will not support this. Yes, of course, many people will not support this, but in the reality, the communities are still there in the US. The travel landscape doesn't change only because Trump would be in power. And so this is important in tourism, I see, that people understand there is a difference between the political situation and the real life there, I think. And this is important for tourism because I don't want to see that the tourism figures, especially to the US, is going down when this happens next year. DT, what do you say about this?
We don't know what's going to happen this year.
No, we don't know. No.
But yes, you're right. And you know, that's the thing is that that's what we're trying to showcase, and what we're trying to say is, you know, we're different from, it's not, I don't know how to explain it, but I mean the community is very open and very welcoming and that type of thing. It's a lot different situation than sometimes what you think or what you read in the press or hear in the press or see in the press. And when you get down into the the nitty-gritty of who we are as a community and that type of thing, and I mean you just look at Disney has taken a stance on this against our governor, and they are not going to back down on this, which is great because they understand how important it is to take this stand. It took them a little while to figure it out, but they figured it out, and the more that we can have voices like that, I mean, think of the powerhouse of Disney. and the corporations that they own and things. And when we can get corporations and companies like that, especially big tourism, I mean, it's a media conglomerate, not just tourism. And when we can get them on our side and taking our stance and saying, we're not going to put up with this, those things go a long way. And that's the kinds of stories that we need to tell. Like, it's not all one-sided. There's two sides to every situation. And so if we're going to get pushed back, we're going to push back we're going to push the other way just as hard or harder. So, that's kind of what we need to keep in mind, especially, and you're right. I mean, generally anywhere that I've traveled with my husband in the United States, we feel safe, but there are areas where we wouldn't think of going in certain areas or going places and holding hands or hugging or things like that still in the United States. Yeah. But in general, no. I mean, in general, we feel safe pretty much everywhere that we go. You just have to be, you still have to be cautious to a certain degree.
Yeah, because we are running out of time a little bit, I would like to have a statement of each of you coming back to what you think could really be helping to stay or become even more resilient. Because it was already said that we need to cooperate with the local communities, that we need to know that we should not boycott, because then we will leave the communities on their own. That would be the worst thing. Then they would be totally, separated from the rest of the world. But I also believe that we need to cooperate with the governments, try to cooperate with governments. And as I said, the options like GSTC now cooperating with Uganda, there might be, through this international tourism and responsible tools, to make the tourism board more responsible and to bring that message out to the people as well. But we also need, like associations like IGLTA, we need to organize ourselves. This is also important.
And we also need, as DT said, we need the big companies, the big brands supporting the community. And
the brands,
this is our business, we want to work with this community. If the governments like it or not, we do it. And I think money talks in the US anyway, but also globally, also in countries in Uganda, as you said, Michael, when you bring back the pink power to them, they see, oh, this is worth to work with. And this is, even maybe this is for the future, but it's the only way we can do it.
So just one sentence, each of you.
Oh, this is so difficult. Yeah, in terms of just like as a parting note, I think brands need to be bold. As a LGBTQ community, we've always been radical. We've always, protested, and this wouldn't ever change. So I really think that we're here for the long run, and we want to see change. And in order for change to happen, you can't do it as a one-off, and you can't back out when things are going tough. You have to stick with it, and we know it's going to get better eventually. I mean, for us, tomorrow in London, tomorrow is actually Independence Day in Ghana. So we will, as a queer community, we're going to go out and protest at the London High Commission for this anti-LGBTQ bill that has just been passed. And I think we can no longer be bystanders anymore. I think as generally, whether you're from the LGBTQ community or not, I think it's important to shape a better world.
Thank you. Marcel.
I think one thing which is sometimes overlooked is that tourism, the tourism industry does not want to talk about the situation, the local situation, as openly as they could. I think keeping the contact with the local community, but also talking about the issues the LGBTQ plus people feel in these countries. I think that is something which could also improve and raise the pressure to change the policies in the countries.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Yeah, what will build the resilience is train more people, talk to more people, to bring more allies to our side, the local businesses. Because when I was in Uganda, I talked to hotels, many hotels, lodges that accepted just even to have same-sex people in a double room rather than a twin room. So I think the more we talk to the communities and the more these locals are receptive, the acceptance may take time, but when they are receptive, that's how we can use the grassroots going up, and then we can have discussions at the table with the government.
Thank you.
I just want to say that I feel very humbled and honored to be on stage with these colleagues from Ghana and Uganda and to hear their story and hear their passion and hear what they're doing. And I think that we all should be more inspired by these types of activities that you all are engaging in and working on. And it inspires me, and it should inspire all of us to go out there and be louder voices and bigger voices for our community.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, so we are
Yeah.
perfectly on time. We didn't get any Slido questions.
No, we didn't
Sorry,
get any questions.
whoever sent them, because they were not shown here. But I think we had such an interesting discussion, and we should keep on discussing. And there will be more sessions also on the small stage, on the lighthouse stage, where you can also follow up. And tomorrow, maybe you can also be there when Michael will get his award. It's on the blue stage, I think, at 6 o'clock tomorrow afternoon.
Yeah, and don't forget the LGBT pavilion stage in Hall 3.1. There's an educational program going on today, tomorrow, on Thursday. So please check this out. We have many very good speakers there, panel discussions, expert talks. So it's really interesting. And tonight we have a reception from 5 to 7 in the pavilions. You're all invited to join us for the reception and network with everybody there. So thank you for joining us.
Thank you.